Let's now practice naming ionic compounds based on their formulas. So we will start with, let's do Cu, Cl. So what is the name of this compound? Well, from the naming rules we've discussed before, we say the name of the metal, in this case it's copper, and then we say the nonmetal, chlorine, with an "ide" ending, so chloride. We know, though, that copper is a transition metal, so we need to put in the Roman numeral. But what's the Roman numeral for copper chloride? The way we figure it out is using what we already know. So in this compound, we know the charge on the chloride. The charge on the chloride is -1. Because the charge on the metal must be equal but opposite in sign in order to be a total of 0 charge, we know that the copper must be +1 in order to balance that out. So the Roman numeral that would go here is 1. So it's copper 1 chloride. Let's look at another copper chloride. Let's look at CuCl2. Again, we know it's copper. We don't know the charge, but we know it's chloride. For the Roman numeral, what do we know? We know the charge on chlorine is -1, but we have 2 chlorines. So the total charge on the chlorine is -2. Therefore, the positive charge on the copper, in order to balance that, must be the opposite, must be +2. So the Roman numeral would be the Roman numeral 2. Now what happens if you have more than one of your metal? Let's look at Ni3P2. How would we name this? Well, nickel is Ni, so we have nickel. We don't know its charge because it's a transition metal. Nickel is right here. Put parentheses. And we know P is phosphide. So let's figure out the charge. What do we know? Well, we don't know nickel because it's a transition metal, but we do know phosphorus. Phosphorus is in group 15, so it has a charge of -3. But because we have 2 of the phosphides, we need 2 -3 charges, and in total that's going to equal -6. So that tells us that the total charge on the nickel is +6. But we have 3 nickels. We have 3 nickels, so what can we do here? Each nickel needs to have the same charge. So what we do is divide by the subscript. So we have 6 divided by 3 nickels gives us a +2 charge on every nickel. So this ends up being nickel 2 phosphide. So if you have a subscript with your metal, you must divide the total charge by it in order to figure out the charge on a single nickel. To check that you've done that correct, we'll do the reverse. So on the phosphorus, we said we have 2 -3 charges, which equals -6. So if we write out the charge on a single nickel, which is +2, 3 times, because we have 3 nickels, it will equal +6, and we've we've done it correctly. And remember that this Roman numeral is the charge on a single metal ion. The Roman numeral is the charge on the single cation, not all of the combined ions if you have more than one. So here the charge on the single copper was +1, here on a single copper atom was +2, and here, even though we have 3 nickels, each nickel had a +2 charge.